Hey, how are you? Welcome to the lesson on how to create value that gets you recognized. I am so excited about this lesson because I think it provides immense value. So much so that I have broken this lesson within this lesson down into a three-part video. So in this video, we are going to cover part one. In part one, we'll be discussing what is value. Then in part two, we're going to discuss how to create it. And in part three, I'm going to teach you a method for creating value at work and determining if it's creating value and working for you, if you will. All right, so let's jump into what is value. Okay, so value is something of importance or beneficial to another person. Notice I said to another person. Value is created by doing something that is important or beneficial to another person. So keep that in mind as we go through this. So let's talk about the things we do at work that likely isn't creating value for you so that we can think through this process about how we can do it differently. All right, so what does not create value? Well, let's talk first about the first X you see there, and that is not understanding the difference between work that is necessary, work that is busy work, and then high value work, right? So there's a certain amount of work that is necessary. Then there's all the work that we find ourselves doing day in and day out as busy work, right? Like there's just things that don't add value. We do them just because. Sometimes we don't even know why we do them. We just always done it that type of way work, right? And then there is high value work. That means the perception of completing that work or the result or outcome of that work is perceived to be of high value to someone else. Then we have operating from not enoughness. When we do that, we are not creating value, right? People can sense when we don't feel like we are whole, complete enough in and of ourselves, right? We're seeking external validation. And when we operate in that energy, it's hard for us to create value. Value is not created, with that said, from being busy. Busy and doing all the things does not create value. And in most cases, it doesn't create value that gets you paid, that gets you recognized. So what else is there? So the third thing is value is not created by doing what we want, even if we think we know best, or in fact we do. Now I'm going to tell you that this one is a hard one for me. It is, right? I was the person who was like, I don't understand why they're not listening. I know this isn't going to work, perhaps. Or I propose that we do X, Y, or Z, and they didn't listen, right? And sometimes when that happens to some of us, we make that mean that they don't value our perspective. And that may be true, but it doesn't mean that you are not adding value per se. It's just that the value that you thought it would be isn't the same as how the other person saw it. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. And then the fourth, taking on work that is not yours. It does not add value. It fills a void, but it doesn't add value. That value was supposed to be created by someone else. So you stepping in to take on that work because someone else didn't do their job does not create more value. That is not the work that you are supposed to be doing, said differently, right? So you're not creating from the place that which you're supposed to operate. You're creating or filling in for someone else's space, right? So that's not creating value the way you want to be creating it for your career. And then Last but not least, and certainly there are other examples of ways in which we operate at work that do not create the value in order to produce the results where we're either making more money and we're getting more recognition. Typically, those two things go hand in hand when we are creating value. All right, so fifth thing again, taking on work that is not in alignment with your career goals does not create value, right? So there is more work than there is people right now. Like it's not getting better. It's getting worse with the Great Resignation, right? So we're all taking on more work. We're taking on more work. We're trying to get it done faster and quicker and all the things. But how much of that work aligns with what you thought you were going to be doing, what you want to be doing, and certainly what will help you get to the next level you want to, or the next opportunity that you want to for your career goal, right? So those are the things I want you to think about. We often in classes talk about what people should be doing. And this is one of those lessons where, especially when it comes to what does not create value, I want you to think about stop doing. So if you're doing multiple of these, maybe you just pick one thing to stop doing that's not creating value, because you can then use that energy to create value for yourself and for your employer. Now, with that being said, we are going to hop over to part 2 and talk about like how to do that. What does that look like? Ready? I'll see you there.